Are you looking for inspiration, peace, and a deeper connection with your soul? If you're ready to investigate your higher truth, take a deeper look inside, and discover a better way to live, stay tuned for Higher Soul Living, where we ignite your divine intelligence for life. With me, Reverend Christine Hart-Savage. I experienced a profound spiritual awakening that was so life-changing. It took me into a 30-year career as a metaphysical life coach and breathwork expert. I've mentored thousands of people through their personal challenges, anxiety, self-doubt, and search for meaning. Higher Soul Living is about choosing to live the higher way. It's about taking conscious ownership and drawing spiritual intelligence into your everyday life. Join me on a search for higher truth to find hope, connection, and happiness. The Higher Soul Living Show starts now. Good morning. You're listening to Reverend Christine Hart-Savage, and welcome to the Higher Living Show, the Higher Soul Living Show. We can't leave out the soul. In fact, most of us do a lot of the time leave out the soul. That part's very important. You know, I live near the beach, and this morning I was walking down past this cafe, and I call it the doggy cafe because there are so many dogs with their owners outside this cafe. And nearly every time I walk past, the owner's on one side, it's not very wide, and the lead is across the pathway, and the dog's on the other side. So it's a bit like a skipping exercise as you walk down past this cafe. And when I was walking down at the beach, I was thinking about when we were kids, we did not have leads. And I don't know what it's like for you in your part of the world, but we didn't have leads. And the dogs, we'd get on our bikes as kids and we'd chuff off and we'd say to mum, we'll be back at dinner time. And we'd go off and we'd have picnics and we'd take the dogs with us. And they would always be really easy. They would just come with us and come home and they were happy. But these days, I know it's different. We've got a lot of rules and we have to have protection for people and children. So the leads we do need them. However, I think one of the problems is with accidents. Nearly everyone I know that has had a problem with a dog when they've been walking, or the dog's seen something and suddenly they're sailing through the air on the end of a lead, or people are walking past cafes like my doggy cafe and they trip over. I really think the leads are the problem. That's what I came to this morning. The leads are the problem, but they're going to be around for a long time. Anyway, today we are going to talk about integrity. Now, integrity and word integrity and word integrity. So we want to look at, are your words in alignment with your integrity? And what is integrity? What does it mean? So it seems to be a bit of the buzzword, you know, recently, but also for quite some time, integrity. And when I work with clients on forming, you know, if we're forming their personal core values, integrity is one of the words that I would say comes up most of the time, probably 90% of the time. So what does integrity actually mean? And what does it mean for our lives? So we'll look at that also, and then we'll get on to word integrity, which is something I coined because I was using it so much with clients, word integrity. So the definition of integrity in the dictionary, there's two. And the first one is the quality of being honest and having strong moral principles. So, you know, we can understand that is a definition. But through my experience and understanding of life, there's another definition for integrity, and that's the one that I really do like. The second one is a state or the state of being whole and undivided, a unification. And I do believe that definition 2 leads to definition 1, and maybe definition 1 leads to definition 2. That's a bit of an oxymoron, isn't it? But we'll cover that. So in my personal experience as a life coach and breath worker, working with clients for over 30 years, I've watched this amazing transformation that takes place with conscious personal development. So when we enter into personal development, any sort of personal development, and we do it consciously, like breath work, a daily meditation or focus, studying deeper philosophies. Maybe you're reading self-development books, autobiographies. Watching inspiring movies is another one. Playing musical instruments or singing, listening to uplifting music. Anything that expands the mind and opens the heart and the mind to really new ideas and new possibilities and a different way of thinking. So we get new insights when we start to delve into personal development and deeper understandings about ourselves, more knowledge and comprehension about the world around us. So there's this ever-expanding mystery of life. That's what I love about life. It is ever-expanding. So there's so many mysteries, so many things that we learn through delving into personal development, but there's so much more. As I always say, I feel like I know the most I've ever known in my life, which is a tiny bit of something absolutely massive, 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 massive. So there comes a time in everybody's life, hopefully, where they start to question, because we need to question our own thoughts, our own beliefs. Like, where did they come from? Why do we believe what we believe or think we believe? I remember when I first started in personal development and I kept thinking, well, this is my belief. Why is it my belief? Where did it come from? Is it actually my belief, or did it come from conditioning, from my parents, from my schooling, from my experience? What do I actually believe? So those types of questions start when we start on that search for the self, the soul, or what else is there in life. We start to search and inquire. And I love inquiry, that inner inquiry. It's so important. We inquire into who we are as human beings. And that's what metaphysics is about, is that journey of discovery. Like, who are we as human beings? Human beings filled with spirit, filled with life force, aliveness, energy. So sticking with today's theme, though, of integrity, I've experienced and watched people's sort of their integrity shift and change as they develop themselves, as mine did. And as we change, our word integrity must be looked at too, because that'll muck us up if we don't do that. So I suppose the question is, can integrity change over time, or is it fixed? We can really only be in integrity with the level of integration we hold, with the level of wholeness that we carry within us. Now, that may sound a little bit like double Dutch, actually, but integrity is so much more than we think. So I'll explain the best I can. So if we have a whole lot of unresolved past traumas and pain still sitting in the body, that's what I call like the shadows that cover the soul. That's just the language I like to use for it. Another one I use is patterns. We have these patterns that are charged inside us. We could call it the pain body. Old pain that still has an emotional charge to it. And that charge is ruling us. So you know yourself by your reactive nature to things. You know, sometimes you have a trigger that happens and suddenly you feel really, really emotional. You're really reactive. That is an unresolved trauma or unresolved past. It's a shadow that's sitting over the soul. And what it does, it takes you over. Every time you're triggered, it takes you over and over and over every time, and it acts itself out. And that is what's unresolved. And until it's resolved and becomes what I call a flatliner, so it has no charge left on it, that's what we're after. So integrity is part of that. So if we've got a lot of charge sitting inside us, We can only be in integrity to the level that is integrated in the body. I will talk about this a little bit more as we go through. So, can integrity change over time? What do you think? So that's the question. I believe, and I really do believe this, that our level of integrity can change over time due to our process of healing. So as we heal the wounds of the past, we become more whole. Therefore, we must become more integrated. So with integration comes a raising of personal vibration. We actually become a higher frequency. And I love this because everything in life is frequency. Everything has a vibration and everything has a level of frequency. So if you think about it sort of at that quantum level, it just makes sense. It totally makes sense. So as we heal, we raise our frequency. That means that our personal integrity must become higher. And with the raising of frequency comes a higher level of information that we're privy to, because everything is frequency and everything holds information. So as we expand and we allow more of our soul energy to come into us, more of our spirit, and we become that higher level of frequency, we have more like access to a higher information. And we can only access that information if we're high enough, because that information sits at the level that we vibrate at. So we can't understand things or get to that level unless we're in alignment with that vibration. So our level of integrity must match our level of understanding vibrationally. Our personal integrity must be equal to our level of integration. It's universal law. So having said that, if we look at this as universal law is physics, our awareness expands as we become more integrated, more whole. So our awareness expands, we raise up, and we are privy to higher information, which means that our integration level has changed. And then if we start to action that new awareness we have, because awareness is different to consciousness in a way, because we can have awareness about something and not have the level of consciousness to actually put it into action. So they're two different things. We know that we have aware people in our world, and still they make decisions that do not serve humanity. So we can have awareness, higher and higher awareness. We need to raise our level of consciousness as well. So if we then start to action our new awareness, which is where we stopped a minute ago, by what I call word integrity, a term I coined, as I mentioned before, through coaching people. So life starts to change then, and there is a raising of consciousness that follows. So as we're doing our personal develop, our daily meditations, breathing, readings, whatever it is we do, doing that consciously, we then need to, as we're raising, we then need to look at our word integrity. Our word integrity is really, really important. So old hurts and pains from the past, they're like jigsaw pieces that actually sit in the body. They're all these little bits. They have like an edge to them. They do look like jigsaw puzzle pieces. So we have to actually blow the boundary on each of those pieces to become whole. So we need to blow the charge that's held, the emotional charge that's held inside that jigsaw puzzle piece. There'll be a memory there with an emotional charge on it, and it will have thought patterns attached to that as well. So that needs to be nullified, if you like. It needs to come back to a flatliner as far as the emotional charge goes. And as we do that, as we blow the edge on each of those jigsaw pieces, they integrate and blend back into the whole of the body, so that the body becomes a little bit more unified, a little bit more whole. And it's a process. And there's many layers to all of this, which takes us back to the second dictionary definition that we spoke about earlier, the state of being whole and undivided, a unification. So to me, that's what integrity is about. And then the definition 1 kicks in, because as we raise ourselves and we have more integrated parts of ourselves, the next definition 1, the quality of being honest and having strong moral principles. So we could start these definitions in different places, but as a person raises up more soul energy, they become a higher vibrational frequency. Those morals will shift to match it, because we see things, we have insight into ourselves at a much deeper level, and we have insight into life at a much deeper level. And you know what it's like? You cannot not know what you know. You cannot not know what you know. So we can try to trick ourselves and pretend we don't have the awareness around something, but we do. And when that awareness is there, we have to start living towards that and bringing our word integrity in and our actions. There's a lot more stages to all of this, but we'll just talk about a couple of them today. So the more we work with the shadows of the soul, those emotional charges, the more our integrity changes and life changes, and for the better usually, even though it can be challenging, because as we expand, anything that is really vibrating at a low level inside us gets drawn up so that we get the opportunity to heal it. So as we are expanding and our life is changing, we've earned that. We've earned that extra integrity. We've gained extra integrity, greater personal integrity through the personal development, having the courage to actually look inside ourselves and really see what's going on in there, and starting to choose or to make different choices, more conscious choices in the world. So what does this look like in the practical, real world? So how does it play out in our lives as we step into more integrity? The other thing, look, before I answer this question, I think it's really important for people to know their values. Because often people will say, I know my values. And I'll say, well, what are they? And they can't really say them in a way that is really clear. So I think there's a really good system that you can do for getting to know your values, putting them in place and starting to work it in your world. In fact, I have a course on that called, what is it called? It is called something to do with choices. Get Choice Smart. That's it. Get Choice Smart. So we do all the values in that course and look at what we embody and what we don't and how to work with that. It's really vital, because if we don't know our values, how can we ever really be in alignment with our integrity to the level that we are at? We can't be. So what does it look like in the practical world? How does integrity play out? It plays out in some really great ways. Self-honesty, courage, and self-reflection, that increases inside us. We have the ability to do that. We become less reactive. So there's less emotional charge and reactivity to people and to events. So if we have a trigger's always outside of us. I think I spoke about that a couple of times already in a different podcast. Triggers are external. They have nothing to do with us. But the reactivity that happens inside, that's ours to own. That's where we need to do the cleanup. That's what we need to get balanced. Our own reactivity is ours to carry. That's our wound, that's our scar, that's our shadow. That needs to be worked through. So there's less reactivity, less emotional charge, and reactivity to events, external events. We become, and I really like this one, less judgmental. So we become more discerning in our choices. Now, some people say, well, what's the difference between being judgmental or discerning? So judgment and discernment are quite different. So judgment is where we make something wrong. We judge it as something and we make it the wrong way. It's wrong. Discernment is not denying what's going on. It's looking at those things and saying, I discern, I can see that, but I am choosing to go in a different direction. And then you could bless that event, that person doing that thing. So discernment isn't a judgment. You make a choice to go in a different direction and be different from that thing that you're walking away from. So I hope that helped. We also become less critical. We become more accepting of ourselves, accepting of our family, friends, accepting of life, which actually is a lot more peaceful. It's more peaceful to live like that. And there is less separation and more inclusion once we're living more in integrity, a more integrated life. And there's more happiness and definitely more joy as we go along. It doesn't mean that everything becomes perfect in our lives, not at all. It just means that we have less attachment to things. And if we do get triggered, we take responsibility and actually do something like a meditation or breathing or sitting, monitoring, witnessing what's going on inside us until we can get that to a nice calm state. That's the way to work with that. So let's look now at word integrity. So this really is it's got two parts to it. So we're weeding out the words that we use, what is in alignment with who we're choosing to be in the world and what is not. So this is about starting to notice and catch the words that you habitually use, because a lot of it's unconscious, the way we think, the words we use. So I'd like you to start doing this actually. Notice if they're in alignment with your current level of integrity. Now, you know inside you what your integrity is at the moment, because it will shift. So you know that. So it's a great place to start is to watch your words. So watch the stories you tell. And when you're doing this, be gentle and kind with yourself as you start sort of this inner inquiry, because it's really important that we do give ourselves support, like our own best friend doing these things. So you need to be kind to yourself. So when you catch yourself telling a story that is perhaps made up or partly made up, or it's angry, cross, judgmental, just catch yourself. That's a really great thing to do. So this is where we take responsibility for our integrity. The integrity takes on a more meaningful role. It starts to be a conscious choice. So the first stage is awareness. Well, we need to have awareness. If we don't have awareness, we can't change anything. So having awareness about where we're out of word integrity or alignment, and actually pulling that back and thinking, okay, how could I say this differently? What words could I use? And the other thing after awareness is the words. So cleaning up our language, the words you use. Are your words in integrity with your values? Are your words in alignment with who you're choosing to be in the world? So you can start really designing who you choose to be in the world. You do have freedom of choice at all times. And people often tell me, this is a really common thing. They just want peace when they come and see me clinically, or we're doing a course or a program. I just want peace. But then the words they use are absolutely so often the opposite of what they're saying they want. So the awareness of word integrity needs to be raised. It's not in alignment with the value of peace. And we don't have much time left. It goes so fast. But I'd like you to do this. Every time you catch yourself in this habitual frenzy of negative words and stories, when you become aware of it, pat yourself on the back and just say, yes, I caught myself. That's great. So stop even mid-sentence if you have to, and change your word integrity, or just stop and be silent. That's better than saying things that are not in integrity with who you're choosing to be. So if you'd like to know more about my programs, there's one coming up in, I think it's early March. Go to soullifeconnection.com and you can read up on that. It's a great program, 6 weeks coaching program. But my closing message for today is try your best to stay in integrity and word integrity today. Start today. Today, think about the words you're using. Be conscious of yourself. Try to use words that match your values. And if you muck up, stop, just start again. Laugh. Become aware of your language and all the words you use. Get to know yourself really well. Look for a better and the higher way to communicate. So today, try your best to stay in integrity and word integrity. And I really look forward to seeing you next time. Bye from Reverend Christine Hart-Savage. Have a great day of integrity. Thank you for tuning in to Higher Soul Living, where you'll ignite your divine intelligence for life with me, Reverend Christine Hart-Savage. Join me every second and fourth Thursday at 3 p.m. Pacific on Transformation Talk Radio for more information and stories that inspire hope, possibilities, and a greater understanding of who you are at a higher soul level. Together we deepen the connection between the spiritual and the physical aspects of your being and align to your soul's innate intelligence. Metaphysics and the higher soul's journey are my greatest joy. I invite you to join our Facebook community, Soul Life Connection Group, and to visit my website, soullifeconnection.com, for more information about me, my programs, my coaching, and to tap into your higher soul's intelligence. I hope to see you next time.